Toyota never intended on manufacturing the FJ Cruiser. It received so much attention that the normally risk-averse Toyota Motors took a chance and decided to mass produce it. The FJ Cruiser has its roots in two of Toyota's most iconic trucks, the FJ40 Land Cruiser and the Prado Land Cruiser, both renowned for their reliability, their off-road capability, and just absolute durability. And to retain this, they built the FJ Cruiser in the Prado plant in Amuro, Japan by Hino Motors, where they also used the body design and suspension of the Prado Land Cruiser on the FJ. The FJ was actually designed and tested in Southern California, which makes sense. It feels like it belongs here. It's really great for weekend activities. It excels on the sand, gravel, and on the dunes, but it makes for a really good daily driver as well. It's incredibly safe, and the off-road capabilities can deal with good, terribly maintained Los Angeles roads. Another great thing about the FJ is just how versatile it is, and how many modifications are available to fit all of that versatility. And again, Toyota did something a little against character. The company tried something they had never tried before, which is during the design phase, they invited in aftermarket parts makers and accessory makers to come in and take measurements so that the aftermarket parts would be available immediately upon release of the FJ. And this has really created a very large market in modifications. If you don't like something about the FJ, you can change it. As an homage, the FJ Cruiser has a headlight and grille assembly that is the same as the one that was on the FJ40, which was originally designed to resemble the eyelets of a samurai warrior mask, as it was built initially as a military vehicle. Another interesting note about the FJ is that it's the only model in Toyota's fleet that actually has Toyota spelled out across the grille, as opposed to having Toyota. The hood scoop is completely non-functional, but hey, it looks cool. The FJ also has a very angled windshield, much like the FJ40 Land Cruiser, and there are 3 wiper blades. One of the downsides of this setup, as far as the angle of the windshield, is that the small rocks and gravel might kick up, and pretty much every FJ owner I've talked to has had to replace their front windshield, if not once, several times, and they're not cheap. FJs come standard with a roof rack. It's a really cool looking roof rack, but unfortunately it creates a lot of cabin noise along with the very angled front windshield, and it's fairly useless. If you're doing any serious camping or overlanding, you'll want to get an aftermarket roof rack. The FJ is a kind of a 4-door. It's really a 2-door with 2 smaller suicide doors, really not convenient for backseat passengers, especially if you've got a family or kids. But they look cool, and they swing out really far if you're in a tight parking spot, which usually are in the FJ, unless you're off-road or fjording a river, which you can because the seats are water resistant, the floorboards are all plastic, allowing for very easy cleanup. The FJ is actually designed to handle up to 28 inches of water with a lifted air filter and a body designed to push water away. Akiyo Nishimura, the lead engineer of the FJ, said the plastic might be cheap, but it's way easier to clean up in the end. The FJ comes with a traction control off button, a rear diff locker, and the A-track control, which is really all you normally need. The four-wheel drive control.
Never really liked the design of the FJ Cruiser, but like you said, this is one of the few trucks that has appreciated in value over the years. I'm looking at this shit right here, a 2012 FJ Cruiser is $22,000 still, with 150,000 miles on it. Here's one that has 243,000 miles, and they still want $10,000 for that shit. With almost 250,000 miles. These trucks must be run forever, yo. 261,000 miles, 214, 194, 197, 176, 179, 213, 327,000 miles for 2011, and they still want $15,000 for it. It's a pretty interesting truck, you know. Yeah, I'm trying to find something interesting to listen to.
This entrepreneur brand logo was done by a top freelancer on Fiverr. Is simply. It seems to be harder than ever to get through to people logically. In fact, some of the smartest people have the most sophisticated psychological booby traps when it comes to heated subjects. So in this video, we are going to break down why sometimes people won't listen to reason even when they're smart, and what techniques you can do to finally get through to those people so that they see the light. The first thing that you need to realize is that people can fall into a pit that makes them impervious to reasoned argument. What pushes them into that pit is called cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance is the state of having thoughts, actions, beliefs, or desires that are inconsistent with one another. The classic example is someone who smokes, knows that smoking kills, yet says that they want to live a long, healthy life. Their beliefs and their actions don't seem to match up. Now, having one's own dissonance can be often there's often an unspoken cost to changing certain actions or opinions. In this case, stopping smoking would lead to painful withdrawals. So the most common way that people make cognitive dissonance more bearable is by sneakily changing another thought or action, even if that one makes them irrational. That means that our smoker who can't quit only has irrational paths out of cognitive dissonance. They may point to individuals who smoked without consequence, insist that they have the healthiest genes, or say that they don't care if they die early, even when they really do. The big takeaway is that sometimes, especially in politics, religion, or emotional life choices, the most ridiculous belief that we have is the one that is most difficult to change. That is why smart people cling to silly positions. It's also why it's critical that you recognize cognitive dissonance if you're ever going to get through to those people. Because the worst thing that you can do in moments where people are deep in a cognitive dissonance shutdown is to continue with logical argument. That will just drive them deeper into irrationality. So here are 7 tells that someone is going into a cognitive dissonance shutdown, and you need to tread carefully. Keep in mind that none of these are perfect indicators. There are times when each tell is entirely reasonable. But if you see several tells, it's likely you're encountering cognitive dissonance. Also, my intent here is not to make fun of the people in these examples, just to learn from them, because we all get caught up in cognitive dissonance from time to time. So the first indicator is being stunned by new information without conceding or adjusting your perspective. Take, for example, Kathy Newman after she had asked Jordan Peterson about why he feels that he has the right to offend people in their pursuit of truth.
You're doing what you should do, which is digging a bit to see what the hell's going on. Exercising your freedom of speech to certainly risk offending me.
You haven't sat there and I'm just trying to work that out. I mean,
Ha, gotcha.
you have got me. I'm trying to work that through in my head. Yeah, it took a while.
It did.
When someone is stunned, it means that they encountered surprise new information, and to not adjust one's perspective based on that new information can point towards cognitive dissonance. But I repeat that that alone is not enough on its own, which is why you should pay attention for number 2, being unable to accurately summarize the other side's perspective. And this is often preceded by, so you're saying.
You're saying that trans activists, but you're saying, right, so you're saying that anyone who believes in equality, so you're saying give people equality of opportunity, that's fine.
We see Ben Affleck do this in his conversation with Sam Harris when Sam is critical of aspects of the doctrine of Islam.
We have been sold this meme of Islamophobia where every criticism of the doctrine of Islam gets conflated with bigotry toward Muslims as people.
Right. And you're saying that Islamophobia is not a thing.
Now, this needs to be contrasted with summarizing the other side's perspective in a way that genuinely attempts to portray them in their own words. This is to be encouraged, and you can see Jon Stewart do it here with Bill O'Reilly.
Let me go to a different point, if I may. It sounds like what you're saying is, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I don't want to be wrong when I'm with you, because you know I got mad love for you. That's a rap phrase.
I got it.
The third tell is mind reading the other side's intent, especially when the intent is presumed to be nefarious. Ben Shapiro made this mistake in his conversation with Andrew Neil, assuming that Andrew must be on the left because he asked him pointed questions. Ben continued to disbelieve Andrew even when Andrew had indicated that Ben had misread his intent.
You as a journalist are proceeding to call one side of the political aisle ignorant, barbaric, and sending us back to the Dark Ages. Why don't you just say they're on the left? Is this so hard for you? Why can't you just be honest?
Mr.
Seriously,
Shapiro,
it's a serious question.
Mr. Shapiro, if you only knew how ridiculous that statement is, you wouldn't have said it. So let's move on. Would you vote
I
for
think it's pretty
Mr.
evident
Trump?
from your
Would
own
you vote
questions
for
exactly what you are
Mr.
saying.
Trump?
The fourth tell is
Hyundai complimentary maintenance. Standard on every new 2020 Hyundai for up to 3 years. That's better than Toyota, Honda, and Nissan. Now for a limited time, lease a Hyundai Elantra for just $149 a month. Learn more at
regularly moving goalposts. It's of course okay to clarify your position, but if you notice that someone is regularly adjusting the criteria by which they judge an argument, you're likely witnessing cognitive dissonance. For context, this next clip, Stewart and O'Reilly are arguing whether it reflects poorly that Barack Obama had Common to the White House, given that Common has defended someone accused of killing a police officer. Jon Stewart points out that Springsteen, Bono, and Bob Dylan also did the same thing, and we get this exchange.
No, wait, let me reply. Okay, so you say that because Bono, Springsteen, and Bob Dylan wrote songs defending people who were accused of heinous things,
Yes.
that I have to give Common a pass.
No.
Because he did the same thing.
You have to be consistent with your outrage.
Let me give you. Let
Be
me be
consistent.
I will. Common visited, went to see.
The fifth tell is yelling or getting angry, especially self-righteous anger. And you just saw it with Bill O'Reilly a bit, but here's another example from Ben Affleck and Sam Harris. For context, while Ben does make good points that most Muslims are good human beings, he's not responding to Sam's criticisms at all. You can hear Sam try to explain his actual position, but he can't get through because of the yelling.
More than a billion people who are fanatical, who don't punch who just want to go to school. Wait a second. Any of the things they're saying, all Muslims. Wait a second. And you're painting the whole religion with that. No.
The sixth tell of cognitive dissonance is attacking someone's character instead of addressing their arguments, and it's often a sign in light of a losing argument. This is a last resort.
You are, in terms of your group identity.
You're just
That's
saying
murderous.
things though to provoke, aren't you? I mean,
No,
you are
yeah.
a provocateur.
I never said
You're like
anything.
the alt-right that you hate to be compared to. You want to stir things up.
And 7 is retreating from a point without any concession. This is the least of the way, since there's often good reasons to move on in an argument, but it should be noted nonetheless, especially if someone retreats rather hastily to move along.
You don't set out
Now
to
and
provoke.
then, to provoke.
But what happened to about, fighting and the lobster? Tell us about the lobster.
Well, that's quite a segue.
If you see 2, 3, or more of these signs, stop debating. Stop with logical arguments, because they will not get you anywhere. You are in the midst of dangerous cognitive dissonance. Instead, your first order of business should be to re-establish rapport with the person you're communicating with. We've covered this at length in our videos on Crowder and Trevor Noah, which I'll link to for a thorough breakdown of rapport, but for the fastest effect, mid-conversation, crack a joke that does not insult the other side, like this.
This is kind of fun, though, is it not?
Yeah, it's
And my frustration is not, again, it's watching the entire system.
I know. You loathe the network, but you kind of love me
I
a
don't-
little less. I got it.
No, I don't even look
Let's
at
talk
you.
politics.
I actually enjoy your company.
Um,
I feel like we should get to the outside of this weirdly egg-shaped table.
Good-natured jokes are especially effective because cognitive dissonance is like a shell that prevents new information from coming in. As long as you are perceived as a threat, the other person's shell will stay up. But if you signal that you're not a threat by making someone laugh, they'd feel safe enough to finally open back up. Once the other side has opened back up, you're going to have to employ 3 counterintuitive mindsets to finally get them to listen. First, demonstrate no superiority if they switch to your side. When you rub winning an argument in people's faces, they will slip back into cognitive dissonance. If your aim is to change someone's mind, you need to resist the urge to do things like this.
You talk a lot about the Pareto distribution, yes?
that doesn't mean I defend it.
Well, okay.
No, not well,
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
Second,
President's Day savings event at Raymour Flanagan. You'll find everything you need to achieve the perfect night's sleep, including savings of up to 20%.
not force people to immediately live out their new values. Our hypothetical smoker is going to have a really hard time conceding that smoking is ruining their health if they're forced to quit cold turkey in that same breath. So you need to allow people space to separate honesty from integrity. Third, do not hold past inconsistencies against people. People have a strong desire to defend things that they've said and done in the past. So when you bring up those inconsistencies, it can drive them to abandon the new belief that they're trying out just so that they can remain consistent with their past selves. But all of this stuff is worth only so much if you use it just with conversation with others. Because the most dangerous cognitive dissonance you will ever encounter is your own. Your cognitive dissonance is what makes you the smart person with some dumb opinions, and we all have some. Now, admittedly, spotting cognitive dissonance in yourself is harder, though the 7 tells can tip you off if you have super high self-awareness. And the solution of allowing yourself to crack a joke, forget past inconsistencies, will help you move through cognitive dissonance gracefully. But there is one more piece that helps the most with your own person. And that's when you feel yourself losing track of an argument, you start to raise your voice, or you just get the sense that you're trying to win instead of learn or communicate, connect with your body. Literally, look downward into your chest, place a hand on your heart or belly, and take a deep breath. Cognitive dissonance often feels like panic if you tune into it, which is why people enter fight or flight in those arguments. But when you slow down and you pay attention, you'll find that you're actually just having a discussion and exploring a perspective that may be more in line with reality, and your sense of logic will start to come back to you. Now, if you can do this in real time, you won't just be part of the solution to communication breakdowns, which is amazing in and of itself. You will see things that other people cannot see. You'll take your ego blinders off and be better prepared to succeed in politics, relationships, work, or life. If you don't do this, you'll find yourself in a near perpetual state of shock and outrage when the world doesn't match your predefined expectations, and worse, you'll be poorly equipped to do anything to improve it. Thanks to our sponsor for this video, Audible. Audible is having a special holiday offer where you can get 6 months of Audible Plus for just $4.95 a month at audible.com/charisma or by texting charisma to 500-500. Audible Plus gets you unlimited downloads of Audible originals from creators like Mel Robbins, Mark Manson, Kevin Hart, and Neil Gaiman. Plus, it gets you unlimited access to classic books like 1984 or The Art War. The nice thing about Audible is that you can listen to it while you do things like run errands or do chores, so no matter how busy your day is, you're always able to find time to learn and to grow. You can go to audible.com/charisma or just charisma to 500-500 to get 6 months of Audible Plus for just $4.95 a month and then $7.95 after that. The link is on the screen and in the description. Either way, I hope that you've enjoyed this video, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.
People say our trade-in process feels too easy. They can't believe it's 100% online and gives them a competitive offer.
Yo, what's up, what's up? What?
What up, everybody? So, I'm gonna try to put in the comments. I've done this video before. We don't do a video like this. And I'm not saying some of the same things, but it's all about updating your resume, certainly when things come to fruition and there's culturally things are different. Okay? So that's
This is the new 2021 Toyota Mirai, and it's a luxury sedan that's unlike any other luxury sedan on sale today. That's because this is powered by hydrogen. The current Mirai is one of the only hydrogen fuel cell vehicles available for sale, and now there's a new one that's been totally redesigned for 2021, and today I'm going to review it. Before I get started, be sure to check out Cars and Bids, my new enthusiast car auction website. We've had many successful sales, including with Tesla models. We've sold many Teslas, Model 3, Model S, Model X, all for excellent prices with happy sellers and buyers. In fact, every Tesla listed on Cars and Bids so far has sold. So if you're looking to sell your Tesla or any cool special enthusiast car from the modern era, the 1980s and up, sell it with Cars and Bids at carsandbids.com. First, a little overview. Toyota is all about alternative fuel vehicles, and their lineup includes gasoline-powered cars, hybrid cars, plug-in hybrid cars, electric cars, and also this, a hydrogen car. What that means is you go to a hydrogen filling station, you fill it with hydrogen, and then the hydrogen is combined with oxygen in a fuel cell inside the car, creating electricity that powers the car to make it go. And the only emission is water. Pretty nice. Of course, if you're familiar with the current Mirai, you already know this. The current Toyota Mirai, this car, debuted back in 2014, also hydrogen-powered, although its appeal is very limited. That's because pretty much the only public hydrogen fueling stations in the United States are here in California. A few in Southern California, a few in Northern California, and pretty much none anywhere outside the state. That's because building hydrogen infrastructure isn't easy or cheap. But if you live here in California at least, this could be a neat alternative to a traditional hybrid car or an electric car. Now, unlike the old Mirai, which looked like kind of an uglier version of the Prius, this new one has sleeker, almost Lexus-like styling, and it's been changed to rear-wheel drive to make it a better driving experience. This car has a range of about 400 miles between hydrogen stops, and it has about 180 horsepower, which is roughly 30 horsepower more than the outgoing Mirai. But it isn't cheap. Mirai means future in Japanese, but if this is the future, it's gonna be an expensive one. You get a base level Mirai and pricing starts around $50,000,
Wow.
or you step up to this one, the limited trim, and you're looking at a start price of around $70,000. That's big money, although it's worth pointing out that Toyota has massive discounts available if you lease the car, huge subsidies to make the lease payment far more appealing. And Toyota also gives $15,000 in free hydrogen to anyone who gets a Mirai. And today, we're going to find out what else you get when you get a Mirai. First, I'm going to take you on a tour of this car and show you all of its interesting quirks and features. Then I'm going to get it out on the road and drive it, and then I'll give it a Doug score.
$15,000 in hydrogen fuel just for buying the car?
All right, I'm going to start the quirks and features of the Mirai with probably its most notable quirk, and that would be that its only emission is water, like I mentioned. So a normal car drives around and it emits exhaust through the tailpipes and into the air, but the Mirai emits water onto the ground. Its tailpipe, which is actually like a water pipe, is located on the driver's side near the rear wheel. And every time you turn off the Mirai, it just dumps water onto the ground. As you can see, it just sort of pours out like this car is peeing, to be totally honest. This is all the water that was generated when the hydrogen fuel cell was combining hydrogen and oxygen to make electricity to make the car go. Like I said, water is the emission, and that's where it comes out. And it doesn't just come out automatically if you don't want it to. There's a little button to the left of the gauge clutcher that says H2O. You can push that and manually dump water on the ground. I'm not sure why this is available, since the car will handle this process automatically, but you can do it manually if you want, maybe so that you can show people, look, here's how the water comes out of my hydrogen car.
Some tequila in that one of those mixes, the mojito or the
interior of the Mirai. I have to say, it's not really all that weird in here, or really weird at all, and I think that's by design. Toyota knows this car is already a bit of a weird thing because of its powertrain, the hydrogen, and so they want to make the rest of the car as relatively normal as possible, so you don't have to adapt to a strange powertrain and a strange everything else. So the interior here, pretty standard, pretty straightforward, pretty Toyota, frankly, although there are a few odd things worth mentioning. For one, this dashboard over on the passenger side, you have this kind of line running from the gear selector to the center, down below the dashboard, and over to the climate vent over on the right. That's a little bit strange, although more and more cars are having similar lines. That seems to be the trend our design is heading, but it has a bit of a futuristic touch to it. Next up, another thing in this interior that's a little bit strange is the whole gear lever situation. When you start the car, the gear lever is in this position. This is the lever, this tiny little thing you can fit in just a few fingers. In order to move it into drive, you push it over and then down, and then you're in D, and it pops back to its regular position. To go to neutral, you move it over to the left, then it's in neutral, and again it pops back. And if you want to go into reverse, you move it over and up, and then you're in reverse, and once again it pops back. Probably the strangest thing in this gear lever, aside from how it looks and how it operates, is when you push it down, you enter a mode called BR. That stands for braking. So in most automatic transmissions, you have low gears you can use if you're going down a hill in order to keep the car from accelerating too fast so you don't have to ride the brakes. This car has that too, but instead of a low gear, it's simply called BR, which stands for braking, and you're supposed to use that if going down hills to keep the speeds reasonable. Next up, another unusual item. This one, very unusual, is the sunroof situation. This car has a panoramic sunroof, as you can see on the outside, but on the inside, with the sunroof shade open, you can see there's a giant crossbar going over the center. Even though most other cars with panoramic sunroofs have just one giant piece of glass, Not so in this car. Stranger still is the fact that you can't actually open the sunroof, front or rear. It does open like basically every other car. You can open the sunroof shade with this little switch on the ceiling, forward or backward, open it, but you can't open the glass itself to get air coming into the interior. And even when you have the shade open, you have that crossbar taking up a large portion of your sunroof. It's a very weird operation, not your traditional sunroof for not your traditional car. And next up, I want to move on to a few items in this interior I absolutely love, starting with the heated and cooled seats. Now, a lot of cars have that, but the cool thing here is you can turn it to auto mode, and it will heat or cool the seats for you. Go into the infotainment screen, you press auto, and then you can see an auto light
Then
lights
he
up
got
by
his
the
steering wheel get warm
seat
too, yo.
control.
Heated steering
And
wheel.
then you're cold, you don't have to turn on the heated seat. The car will know that it's cold outside.
Like some things just seem like extra luxurious, but like you say, when you need that shit, yo, that shit, man, shit.
Same deal with the heated steering wheel.
Like I said, who the fuck needs a auto start? You just go start your car. Like, nah, nigga, when it's cold, auto start, yo. Heated seats, definitely a plus.
That is a nice luxury touch. You don't see it on too many cars. Next up, another feature I love in this interior is to the left of the steering wheel is a little button with a camera that says view. You push that and it turns on the around view camera. That's what Toyota calls it. But basically a look around the car from the outside of the car, which can be tremendously helpful in parking. Trying to see if you're near a curb, if you're going to hit something on the outside. It is a fantastic feature. Almost looks like a little helicopter is showing you what's around your car. Great technology, and it's cool to see more and more automakers adopting it. And speaking of cameras, another one I love, I always love the rear view camera situation. You look at this rear view mirror, it looks like a normal mirror, but if you pull this little switch below the mirror, you can see it turns into a camera. And the benefit here is, of course, that if you're looking in the mirror with the camera on, you then no longer have to see your trunk or your rear headrest back there or anything else. You just have an unobstructed view to the back. Now, next up, I want to move on to a few items in this area that I don't really like all that much, starting with the most obvious, and that would be the volume control in here, which is these two individual buttons, one volume minus, one volume plus, when it really needs to be a knob that you just twist. That makes it so much easier than tap, 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 tap the button to turn up the stereo, and then tap, tap, tap to turn it down. It makes no sense. And it's in the wrong spot, too, because driver already has a volume control in the steering wheel, so the control in the center will mainly be used by the passenger, but it's over on the driver's side. So to reach it, the passenger has to reach all the way over the center console, and then tap, 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 tap. It really ought to be a knob over closer to the passenger. And next up, another item I don't love in this interior is in the center console where you have your phone charging tray. You can see it's right here in the middle. You put your phone down, very convenient, but you go over a bump and your phone is liable to just pop out of here, bump around, and maybe fall out of the center console entirely. A lot of cars have a little arm that keeps your phone in place. That would probably be better. You get in an accident, it'll go flying. Even hard cornering will probably send it sliding around this center console. Not really the best spot for the wireless.
Some people say our trade-in process feels too easy. They can't believe it's 100% online and gives them a competitive offer that won't change for 7 days. An offer that they can put toward their new car. Some people can't believe our friendly advocate will come to them as soon as tomorrow, drop off their new ride, and whisk their old one away. Because we make trading your car unbelievably easy. Also, you can say,
and speaking of charging, another thing I don't love in this car, there are no USB-C ports for charging devices in here. All automakers are switching to USB-C. It's faster for better charging, but this car still has old school USBs, which will feel outdated in only a couple of years. It's so strange to me, this car with the powertrain of the future still uses the charging technology of the past. You would think Toyota would figure that out and get that right, but they haven't. And next up, we got to talk infotainment, although it's worth noting this is pretty much the same infotainment system in other new Toyota models, and I've already covered it, and I will link those in the description below for a little bit more of an in-depth look at the infotainment system, but worth covering some of the highlights. It is a large screen, and it is a touchscreen, and it's placed sort of on top of the dashboard in its own housing. The theory here is it's intended to tie in with a similar housing over on the other side of the gauge cluster and look like just sort of one piece that's only broken up by the gauge cluster, and then it's kind of a nice look. But anyway, the screen itself and the use, it's pretty responsive to your touch. It's pretty intuitive to figure out how to use it and what to do for navigation, for video, for climate. I like the fact that you can move certain things around the screen. For instance, if you want the radio information to be on the other side of the screen, you just tap here, and now it's closer to the driver to make it easier to see. Or you can maximize the size of certain things. If you want to see the map larger or the radio, whatever you want. Again, easy screen to use. Nothing unusual or special here, especially compared to other Toyota models. One other thing I do like about this system, I like that there are still hard buttons for some of the most commonly used basic features of the screen. You can see home, map, audio, menu along the bottom, and you press those and it goes to any of those features. A lot of other automakers include these items in the screen, but it's nice to have them as hard buttons, so you always have a backup you can push if you're confused, you can't figure out where to go next. Just tap home and it'll take you back to something you're familiar with, and I like that. Now, next up we move on to the screen in the gauge cluster. Toyota has ditched analog gauges in this car. You just have a screen, but it's a little bit small compared to other automakers' gauge cluster screens, and I'm not exactly sure why, because the sides of this screen area are just unused. They could have made the screen larger, but for some reason they didn't, and the result is that some of the commands and controls in here can be a little confusing. You can see a lot of different acronyms for all the different driver aids, and it's just hard to call that stuff straight. If they had more room, they could write stuff out and make it a little bit easier to use and see. With that said, one thing I do like in this gauge cluster screen is the Eco Score system that will actually give you a score for how economically you're driving to make sure you can maximize your eco-friendly driving, which makes sense in a car like this. It may not be the fastest or most exciting car on the road, but if you're into hypermiling and maximizing your fuel economy, there's one way to have fun in the world of electric hydrogen vehicles. And next up we move on to the back of the Mirai, which I must say is actually pretty tight. They're pitching this as a luxury sedan. It's almost 196 inches long, which is pretty big, and yet there's not much space back here. I'm sitting at the passenger seat where I would have it. My knees don't really fit, my toes going under the seat don't really fit, and headroom is a bit of a challenge too. If I sit normally, I kind of have to sit back, and even then I'm in kind of a cavity behind the sunroof. There is not a lot of space in the back of this car. It is not a huge luxury sedan by any measure, but the rear seat is quite luxurious. I say that because you fold down the center armrest and you have this little panel at the front that is dark until you press the power button, and then it lights up and gives you all sorts of rear controls you wouldn't expect from a car like this. You have heated and cooled
I was
rear
gonna call
seats.
Tommy yesterday, and I don't know why I didn't. I just agreed.
At any
Something
level
said he
of
was
car
doing.
industry, but the Mirai Limited has them. You also have a control back here for the rear sunshade. You press this button and the rear sunshade goes up to provide rear passengers with more shade. And for even more shade, you have rear sunshade side windows in the back seat, although those are manual. You actually have to lift those up, put them in place, but then you have a whole sunshade experience in the back. But anyway, other controls in this center armrest, you can control the temperature back here with your own climate zone, and you can also control the stereo. You can press volume up, down. That changes the volume for the entire car, not just like the rear speakers or headphones back here. And you can turn on and off the stereo from the rear seats as well. In case you're being chauffeured around in your Mirai, you're tight and kind of uncomfortable, but you have many controls. Next up, one other rear seat item to mention back here. I said that it was pretty tight for rear passengers, but that primarily applies to the outboard seats, the ones by each door on this rear bench. There is also a middle seat back here, which is just laughably tight. Not only is it small, but you're facing this giant hump in the center that steals all of your leg room. And so you have nowhere to put your feet if you're sitting in this middle seat. I assume that hump is there for various drivetrain components with the hybrid powertrain powering the rear wheels, but it's huge, and it means that the middle seat is pretty much completely unusable, even though there is a seatbelt there, and I guess technically you could stick someone there, although they would be very uncomfortable. And next up we move on to the back of the Mirai, and the first thing you discover when you come back here to the trunk is you don't have a power trunk. which is kind of a shame considering this car's price point. Like I said, around $70,000 to have a manual trunk. It just seems not really correct. The other interesting thing about this trunk is it really isn't all that big. Like I said, this car is 196 inches long, basically full-size sedan territory, and this is all the trunk space you get. I assume various hydrogen components probably steal a little bit of trunk space, and that's kind of a shame because you really don't get a huge trunk despite having a fairly large vehicle. Now, one other trunk-related item worth noting is the floor. You can see there's a little diagram of this latch on the floor, and it explains that you can do something kind of cool with it. You can lift up this latch, and then you can hook it to kind of the top of the trunk area, and that way you have access to the tools that are fitted below the trunk floor. Now, that's kind of cool because that means if you have a flat and you're trying to change your tire, you don't have to worry about where to put the trunk floor while you're accessing your tools. It will just stay in the trunk and give you easy access, so you can do whatever you need to do. But anyway, next up we close the trunk again manually, like a plebeian. And we see that this trunk has a big light bar going across on the outside. That's not really all that unusual. A lot of cars have light bars. It's become a big modern styling trend. And in fact, the lighting in this car is not particularly unusual in general. Both in back and in front, you can see fairly standard light up here. Even the turn signal, all pretty standard for modern cars. The interesting thing about the styling of this car to me is just how Lexus-like it is. The front grille is very large and very Toyota. It fits with their design theme, but basically everything else looks Lexus-y. Between the wheels and the headlights and just the general overall theme and profile of this car, it really does look like a Lexus. It's intended to look kind of like a more upscale, luxurious sedan, and it's a huge improvement over the old Mirai, which was constantly being mocked for kind of its weird hatchback shape and those strange lines that went across it. Everybody thought the old Mirai looked kind of strange. This one is definitely a huge step up in the design department. There's no question about that. Looks almost Lexus-like. And next up, we move under the hood, where you can see the fuel cell, or at least plastic covers.
At Raymore Flanagan's President's Day Savings Event, 10 or 20% on everything. And pay over time with no interest financing for 18 months. All delivered with care from Raymore and Flanagan.
Ashley Home Store's biggest President's Day sale ever is going on now. Right now, get no interest financing.
During Black History Month, they don't have Black History sales, they have President Day sales.
So we are on our first day up to the Giza Plateau. It's pretty impressive, not gonna lie. The thing that you can see on the ground that you can't see, I guess, from like movies or photos that I've seen, is just a huge megalithic stonework on the floor in front of and around the pyramids. And as Yusuf is telling us, like, they are, one, incredibly old. Like the erosion on these megalithic blocks they're unlike anything that we've seen so far in all of Egypt. This is the most eroded area, which makes me think that they are the oldest blocks that we've seen. Because they are like in such a bad condition, and they are freaking huge. Look at this one. This megalithic block, absolutely huge. Another thing that I didn't realize until I got to Egypt is just how high up we are already. So the pyramids aren't on the base line of the floor, they're not on ground level, they're up on a plateau.
That's why it's called the Giza Plateau?
In order to even start all these things, you have to drag all these megalithic 1,000-ton rocks. You have to drag them
It's not on the ground, it's on like a plateau. Yeah, the Giza Plateau.
That pyramids were so flat. They're not. They're built in an even more complicated way. They are built into already formed.
But that's the thing though, the plateau itself had a floor on it, yo. They cut blocks and made a whole complete floor and then built on top of that and underneath that shit, yo. It's like,
It's like popping in and out, in and out, in and out.
like we different people are taking, boy. What the fuck is this? Some art shit.
It's an art shit. Art and education. That is the station.
We found evidence also of seafood, oyster.
Why when you try a new recipe and you try really hard, does it never come out the way you want? But when you don't try, you just throw some shit in the pot, it tastes good.
Mm-hmm. This guy right here, the tour guide, he needs his own show because everybody who goes there and who wants a really good tour, he's in everybody's shit, yo. Like, he is the go-to man for Egypt right now. It's
He
like,
knows his stuff.
yeah, everybody talks to him, yo. Everybody.
Hopefully nobody tries to like do anything crazy.
Like, even the other guy I watch about that shit, Brian Foster, when he goes to Egypt, he talks to this guy. And then somebody else who's over there, he talking to him, yo. Like, he's the fucking go-to guy. You want a good tour? You want a good tour? Yo, go holler at what's it called, yo.
What's up, everybody?
What do you think it is?
You remember we saw the basin and the so-called sewer system as well in Abu Sir, when we had our private permission, the second day of the
man who's speaking right now?
and we saw everything linked to the
Him, yo, he be in
basin.
Where's he from?
And we
Egypt.
said that
He's from Egypt?
Yep.
liquid is
His
being
grandfather,
gathered in these basins.
his grandfather used to do this shit, yo. He got all the shit he knows. His granddad and his dad told him that shit. Like, he third generation
It's the
in
limit
this shit,
of the
yo.
time.
And his grandfather was famous for finding something or doing something, yo. Figuring something
Was
out.
under the ground.
But yeah, his whole life, he been in that shit since
This
he
piece
been
of
a
land
kid, yo.
used to have another piece extended too. Yeah. With the water
I wonder how
tap.
much he charged for his tours though, or to be the guide or whatever, yo. I say anybody who's real serious, like other people, like, oh, let's go on a tour to Egypt. You paying them to go on a tour, then they get there and they find this guy.
But, I mean, I'm sure it's reasonable compared to other people, but I know he's charging.
Yeah, because Brian Foster, some of his tours are like $3,000-$4,000, but it's room, board, food, transportation.
Right.
It's all that. Everything's included.
And when you're in a place like that, I'd rather do that than
With
know
a
that I'm going to be
group,
safe.
hell yeah, stay with a group of people, yo. Make sure we know somebody who knows the lay of the land. Hell yeah.
Or to be a black man, like somewhere that's European, not saying Egypt, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, need somebody to speak the language and all that shit, yo. Fuck that.
Doug, interview with Doug.
Like, one girl on Clubhouse said she was traveling in China by herself. She was like, never again, yo. Something happened and they had to hold her ass for something and drive her to a different airport. She was like, yo, thought these motherfuckers was about to fucking rendition my ass.
You gotta know the laws, too. Well, I was in Clubhouse today and the people said, it sucks to be black in France. It's like they hate Africans because they feel like they're coming over there and stealing the resources. I said, go figure.
Megalithic tables.
Basically, push it through. Even if it wasn't cutting them, you could use it to flatten like a big rotary belt sander around that.
I wonder how the racism is in Australia.
Bad.
Really?
Yep. I already watched some shit about racist Australia.
I mean, it's bad everywhere, but
Yeah.
like, is it extra bad?
Yeah, because believe it or not, Australia is a lot like America, yo. Like their addresses, there's like if you address something to Australia, it'll seem like you addressing that shit to somebody down the street, yo. Yeah, they set up their addresses like us, their phone numbers are like ours, like I don't know. Yeah, and they really structure a lot the same way we are here, yo. And
Natural being 25-cent piece.
yo, what up? And they have a very similar history, yo. The fucking Brits sent all their worst people over there, and they fucking killed all the natives and colonized their fucking lands. And now they don't want to leave, and the Aussies,
You guys need to get out of here.
Yeah, I don't think.
Just like that person the other day that's like, and you're sitting in America. I'm sorry, I didn't know you couldn't be black and from America.
Yeah. But the Aussies, like the Germans, they kind of deal with their history, unlike America. America just hate to deal with the fact that they came up off of somebody else. And the founding fathers and the first families, they wasn't shit because they was slave owners.
This was like maybe like a year ago. It was I think it was a boy. It might have been a girl, but I'm pretty sure it was a boy. A younger black boy on social media, and somebody told him that he needed to go back to Africa. And he was like, I'll gladly go back to Africa if you pay for it. And this motherfucker set up a GoFundMe, and all these white people donated to that shit.
Damn.
Thinking that he was going back to Africa. He said, man, fuck y'all, snatchies. I mean, I'm talking about like thousands of dollars.
Damn.
I said, now that's how you do it, kid.
Let me get that.
Told his ass go back to Africa. He said, okay, pay for it.
Y'all go back to Europe and Ireland.
Right?
And fucking
Germany.
Germany, Sweden. That's what I'm saying. They love to tell motherfuckers to go back somewhere. Y'all go back. All right, let's figure this out. Everybody go back to where they originated from. Africa.
And for the black people, if you don't know where your ancestors came from, then you're from America. Y'all get to stay here.
Yeah.
I'll stay here if everybody else get out.
And some of these calls.
No, I sound like them, huh?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, massive gold on top. How much gold would you put on top?
Remember how they had the brown paper bag test?
Oh yeah.
We don't have the sunscreen test.
Gotta be lighted in the brown paper bag. Well, you gotta be able to stand in the sun for longer than 10 hours without burning.
Well, black people still burn me.
Not as bad.
Okay, without burning and peeling.
Mm-hmm.
Turn red.
Here we have around the back of Second Pyramid, and you can see the
I know one time when I first moved up here and I was still doing like some work outside and shit, man. Me and the two white guys was working on the roof of this apartment building. Yo, by the end of the day, yo, the white boy, it was summertime too. We're out there with our shirts off. Yo, his back was so red, and the next day, yo, that all his skin was peeling off. I'm like, what the fuck,
That's
bro?
how my mom gets. But like somebody like you know, the Jersey Shore people, they're Italian. They continue without burning so bad.
Well, I'm sending you over there. You all came here from over there. You know who Jimmy is.
Nacho Jimmy said our history is told in reverse.
Right, this is really interesting. This is an unfinished.
Yeah, that's what Dane Calloway says.
The Second Pyramid, and you can see the big blocks of limestone.
Dane Calloway says a lot of African history is told in reverse due to the transatlantic slave trade.
The whole geopolymer debate. Were the bricks of the pyramid poured from concrete or were they cut out from stone? Well, this shows you a kind of nod to the antique geopolymer. Right, here's the Sphinx. We had to literally do a flyby visit, which I was a bit annoyed at, but I just wanted to point this out. Look how small the head looks in terms of the body. The body of the cat.
It's been recarved 2 or 3 times, they said. And that shit is old, like so fucking old, man.
It's been chipped down, sculpted down beautifully into a pharaoh's head.
I'm really in love with the way the colors of her hair look.
Right. And it's really weird because every other proportion.
Oh yeah, and I'm gonna put like one more set of highlights in there.
You want me to get brighter?
Why would they mess up with head? But why?
They are locking them together. We can also realize the indication.
Shit, she make me want to do my hair crazy color.
And this was to interlock the granite stone sideways. So limestone wall was cased with megalithic blocks of granite stone.
Granite.
Why was this?
Then we looked inside the old Sphinx temple, which literally felt like I had just time jumped back to ancient Peru.
Time to jump?
Looked so similar to sort of Inca walls. It was just a very bizarre feeling stepping inside the place.
You go to the gym in the morning.
Yeah.
It also reminded me instantly of the Osirian. It was freakishly the same. The huge, big, megalithic blocks.
Oh, they were supposed to be my stuff
It
today.
didn't quite gel
We're
with
supposed to
the
come Thursday.
Egyptian
Supposed to have a men's group with that guy tomorrow.
immediately older.
I hope he shows up on time.
Oh, and here's some tube drills.
Give me something to do so I'm not in the office all day pacing back and forth.
So we have been given 2 hours private access to the Great Pyramid. Which technically didn't used to be called the Great Pyramid, the other one did, but
Texas really got snow so bad.
You right?
I was like, oh my goodness.
Forward, so work out for the glutes.
Oh, yeah.
What other instruments do you have in there? You can't hear anyone. You can't hear what anyone says. Huh?
Tomorrow I'm not gonna cook, but we should have leftovers. Oh, really sounds good.
Sounds good to me. I'm mad about that pizza today though.
Oh yeah.
I thought it was so hard. I was like, I was gonna get a sandwich or a pizza, sandwich or pizza, sandwich. I was like,
I was pissed with my smoothie. I dumped it out.
oh damn.
I didn't I literally drank 2 sips of it and dumped it out. Cause it wasn't the same thing. I got a mango smoothie and like I even sent the pictures to my sister and she was like, "What is that?" And then the apple they gave me, like it had brown spots all over it, and then it had like a white spot on it, looked like paint or something. I was like, I don't know what y'all doing today, but look at this shit. This look like milk.
It's supposed to be a smoothie?
It's supposed to be a mango smoothie.
Right, now I'm heading along here to the Queen's Chamber.
Queen's Chamber.
Crazy resonance that was in the King's Chamber, that's just unreal. The more I see this with my eyes, the more I like stop it. The more I see this place with my eyes, the more I like this is a functional vibration energy plant power station. Something. It's not a tomb. It's not the inside is not shaped like in a tomb. It's really good.
No, I'm good. I'm gonna do real quick. I'll be trying to smoke them blunts with you, but I'm really getting off. Get tired of smoking blunts.
I just take it out, put it in a paper. I don't got no boogie.
Hey.
Yes.
What's in there? Why is all this stuff in there?
Are you all up?
No, I roll my own joint.
Wow. Oh, this has got a nice bit of ring to it. Oh, yeah. Sorry, I'm ruining your meditation. Look. Oh, no, nothing else. Isn't another... Let's look. Okay, it's another...
Oh, these jeans are just a little bit more, yo. A little bit more here. Oh, shit.
Perfectly smooth, seamless line.
The detail king is what they call me. I need one more brush like this, actually, so I don't have to keep working on those ginger colors. Don't have one.
I don't know about sound resonance.
I got all these brushes and don't like none of them.
I'm an actor trying to project your voice into open space. This honestly is like having a sound mic like attached to you. Like if I was doing Shakespeare, I would love to do it inside the pyramid because we can do this show for everybody to hear. How are you today? Hi! You don't even have to project your voice, and it's over there. Hello! So they are.
This evening has a triangle.
Oh, okay. Damn, bitch, she hit it on the skates though. Look. I wasn't ready for that. That's hot.
And then they decided, no, they don't like it here, they're going to build it upstairs. So this whole building, whose measurements are exactly precise. The whole building is level at 3 centimeters, which if you're inside building, that's incredibly perfect. You would build this whole structure and then just go, no, change the bedrooms. It's not a thing. So that whole story somehow is still the official story, but it doesn't fly with me.
What?
There for an hour, 2.5 maybe. I'm getting her pants done before I leave out. That's my goal for today. If I get her pants done today, then it's just down to the shoes in the background, in her purse. You gotta get her pants done. That's the goal before I leave out the studio, is doing her pants. Got it right here. The yellow polish?
Yeah, I just heard all men talking and was like, okay, he has bright yellow polish. I've seen men with black polish, that's the first. That's how they gonna find him if they get lost out there. She just gonna put her nails up to the sky.
The guy who does the 09 comics, he had some dude on his live stream. This motherfucker had nail polish. His nails had designs on it, and one of them was yellow with a smiley face.
I mean, it's becoming the norm for, I mean, obviously if you're a homosexual, bisexual male, but now it's becoming the norm for straight males to paint their nails. And, I mean, a lot of Latino men get their eyebrows arched. They don't dye them or anything, they just get them cleaned up, but hey, they each their own.
45 centuries later, if I dye St. One nails, even if it's just black,
even if it's just clear. So even if it's just clear, you don't even put a clear coat on your nails.
He scrutinized and studied them. I know, like the punk rockers back in the day used to do the mascara and the fucking nail polish and shit.
And eyeliner.
And they still got all the bitches. But, you know, like...
So did Prince, but I don't want a Prince.
Yeah,
Prince
exactly.
would be my best friend, not my boyfriend.
Could he have managed to solve?
I'll be like, Prince, you fine, but why you putting on my shirts?
Blouses.
Why you playing in my pantyhose, boy? Where'd my lipstick go? Prince? Nah, I'm good. Or, what was his name? The dude that married himself.
Dennis Rodman?
Yeah.
Now, he was weird, but Dennis wore the nail polish and all the piercings and crazy tattoos and dyed his hair and like... But Dennis he was still a fucking man, though. That was all man. Like, even when he wore a dress at one time.
I wouldn't say that's all man. He was masculine.
He was masculine as shit. Yeah.
That's not what a man is.
But he had all the bad bitches too, though. He had Madonna. He had yeah. What's the other fine white girl he had? Yeah.
Did he get any black girl to go along with that shit?
He had black girls before, but you know, once you get that money, you can be yourself. Like Andre 3000.
These mountains of stone.
And he wasn't flamboyant. I mean, he was like, you know, tapped into his feminine side, but he wasn't flamboyant. Even when he permed or curled his hair, he still was a man about it.
The Egyptians built the finest and most impressive of them in a single.
Each their own, but if I see you with some nail polish, I'm good.
The first ones were step pyramids, like the pyramid of Djoser and Saqqara. After the 26th century BC, the first true smooth-sided pyramids were the work of a single family, headed by Snefru, who was the father of Khufu and grandfather of Khephren. Originally,
none of these pyramids who they attribute these people to, that shit ain't built by none of the motherfuckers, yo. All them pyramids older than that shit, yo. Older than any dynastic Egyptian, yo. It's as simple as that.
As time went by, these outer stones got pillaged in order to build palaces, temples, and mosques. Khufu still has a few left in space, and Khephren has managed to keep its original stone layer at the top. Khephren was the last monumental pyramid that Egypt built. This period of amazing technological progress only lasted a century. Not long after, Egypt underwent serious climate changes. The country was plagued by drought and ravaged by civil wars, invasions, and social strife. The secrets of the pyramid's construction got lost during these tumultuous times.
Nacho meat.
Recently, archaeologists have discovered the village that housed the workers who
really need to find something that can get me through the next hour.
Yeah.
Egyptologists have unearthed numerous clues into their way of life. They were getting meat, beer, and bread.
I forgot I had these down there. These might not be no good though.
The excavations have even shown that the workers were not slaves, as it was once believed.
Workers were not slaves.
This ain't gonna help you make it through
They
the
were
next
proud to serve their pharaoh.
hour, because this shit making me sleepy.
Journey to the afterlife.
You ain't gonna be here.
I was just saying. I just came up here so I could smoke my butt and have a drink with you, that's all.
You know what I might?
So good.
I might watch what you call it, play some more of that creepy game, yo.
How you gonna focus?
I did listen to it.
That thing is creepy, I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna go watch the OA until I close off.
Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, Rick James.
When you're ready to leave out, you can wake me up. I won't be mad. Or that crime show that you like with the police. The Toronto people. Yes. You hear kissing and you come running up the steps.
Watch out. Get away from her paint, girl.
Come on. Let's go.
Flying robots, flying cars, and smart gadgets. The best of big companies and small startups from the year's biggest tech show, Consumer Electronics Show 2021. The online format didn't make the show any less interesting, so give it a like and watch the video till the end. Samsung unveiled several robots at CES 2021. Samsung Bot Care is designed as an assistant, companion, and caregiver. Bot with elements of artificial intelligence analyzes human behavior and anticipates its needs. The robot will remind you to stretch your legs if you're sitting late at the computer, warn you about the upcoming video conference, prepare materials for the presentation, and choose the best place for it, taking into account the lighting and the background. The second robot, Samsung Bot Handy, is intended to be an at-home assistant. It's equipped with a manipulator with 3 degrees of freedom, a camera, and a claw-like grip. The robot's able to recognize objects and the material of which they are made of to calculate gripping strength. It also analyzes the surroundings of an object to pick them up correctly. According to the company, Bot Handy will be able to work autonomously around the house, help it set the table, remove dirty dishes, collect, sort by color, and load laundry into the washing machine. Not only is the robot able to move around on the floor, but it also can reach up to stack clothes on top of the shelf. The robots are not yet ready for mass production, and their price is unknown. For now, the company is only studying the possible demand the public might have. The latter, by the way, is reacting rather critically, doubting that Bot Handy is really capable of performing the advertised functions, and that Bot Care is actually useful and will justify the cost, whatever it may be. In fact, we've seen such concepts of assistants for several years now in a row, including an early version of Spot with a lever on its back and UBTech's Walker robot. And while Spot has recently made headlines for cleaning clothes, we won't be seeing a real useful home robot to help with household chores with its hands anytime soon. But a smart vacuum cleaner from Samsung will be available this year. JetBot 90 AI is equipped with a LiDAR for accurate 3-dimensional mapping. The robot can detect objects in its path, avoiding fragile objects such as vases and confidently cleaning up the sturdier ones such as furniture. ITRI, Applied Technology Research Institute, also introduced a dual-arm system. The dual-arm robot is capable of performing a delicate task such as grasping fragile objects and playing the piano. 5 Fingers advanced sensor technology and machine learning algorithms should allow the robot to perform a wider range of tasks in the future without special programming. So far, Robot is only a prototype, but we'll continue to monitor its development. General Motors unveiled a futuristic concept of a single-seat electric drone, the Cadillac eVTOL, at CES 2021. The vertical takeoff and landing drone is equipped with a 90 kilowatt-hour electric motor with 4 motors allowing each electric car to fly at speeds of up to 90 kilometers per hour. In the future, the company promises to introduce a 2-seat version of the drone as well. General Motors also unveiled an autonomous delivery van. Company officials say they're rethinking the future of personal transportation, and in their opinion, these 2 concepts reflect the most in-demand models for the next 5 years or more. IBM has partnered with research nonprofit organization ProMare to unveil unmanned seafaring technology at CES. The onboard AI captain system, developed for the Mayflower Autonomous Ship Project, is capable of controlling research vessels in the ocean. It includes computer vision, automation software, and Watson technology for decision-making during autonomous voyages. LG unveiled the disinfector robot Chloe the Bot. In previous shows, it wouldn't have stood out at CES, but today, a robot for disinfecting high-traffic areas such as hotels, schools, and offices is more relevant now than ever. The company has announced a sales launch in the very near future. Pollen Robotics showed off an open-source robot, Richie, at CES, which is now teleoperated. The robot has a VR headset with handheld controllers through which it can be controlled from anywhere in the world. This innovation only supported the general trend in robotics to use robots instead of humans to reduce personal contact. At CES, the British company Shadow Robots gave us info about a new stage of its work. The tactile telerobot, previously supplied mainly to research institutes, will now get a real and important application. Innovate UK has provided the company with funding to bring the robot to Pfizer vaccine manufacturing process. The sensitive and accurate tactile telerobot will work in a sterile box instead of people having to perform a number of operations with uncomfortable gloves. Roboson has unveiled yet another new product. Its K1 educational robot, which should go on sale this spring for only about $300 for the most advanced version. The robot has 17 servo motors, can dance, walk, shoot, and perform other tricks. The robot's controlled by voice commands or through an app. It allows children of all ages and skills to determine and learn the basics of programming in a real, smart, and agile robot. Sony unveiled the first APEAK drone with 4 rotors and a Sony Alpha 7S III camera, a full-frame model with an interchangeable lens that can shoot 4K video. The new drone is considered the smallest drone capable of carrying an Alpha camera, and is designed for professional video and photography. Details about the drone are not yet available, but Sony has said a release is as early as this spring, so we will wait and let you know about the official release. Moorebot, which is a manufacturer of robots and software, introduced a new creation, a Robot Spy Scout. The self-contained robot can explore its surroundings and keep an eye on children or animals while you're away. The robot's equipped with an FHD camera that has night vision, voice control, and streams directly to your smartphone in real time. The operating system is Linux Plus open source ROS. The battery charge lasts for 2 hours, and afterwards, the robot will send itself back to its base for charging. The price of the robot is currently $179. Bionic Hive introduced its fully autonomous squid warehouse robot at the show, capable of climbing shelves. The robot has 3D movement capabilities, has built-in controls, and is able to analyze data in real time to learn from problems that arise and apply those lessons learned to other areas of the warehouse. The solution adapts easily to any warehouse and has already been praised by professionals.
Raymore and Flanagan's President's Day Savings Event. Save 10 or 20% on everything.
Panasonic unveiled a holographic display for cars of the future that has an artificial intelligence and augmented reality head-up display. The visual driver assistance system projects a laser holography onto the windshield, displaying information meaningful to the driver. Heads-up displays provide data on the traffic situation, navigation assistance, data on driving speed, current fuel levels, warns about pedestrians in the night, and also allows the driver to extend their field of vision to a distance of 10 meters or more. The system monitors the direction of the driver's gaze, as well as the movement of objects around the moving car, and dynamically adjusts to each accordingly. Yves Saint Laurent and L'Oreal presented a gadget for creating any shade of lipstick. The device is able to match the shade of clothes to hair, create a user-defined color, and replicate it from a photo. The gadget gives out one portion of the lipstick, which you can apply with a brush from the kit. The price is currently at $299. At the exhibition, there were several interesting solutions for the smart home. For example, wellness toilet from the Japanese manufacturer Toto. The device scans the human body and its waste with sensors, analyzes the data, and suggests dietary changes through a mobile app. The novelty, which even offers cooking recipes, will appear on the market in a few years. British startup Lasso Loop Recycling presented its concept of a smart home garbage sorter, Lasso, at CES. It's supposed to clean plastic and metal from food scraps and determine whether the material is recyclable or not. Lasso analyzes incoming trash with a camera and AI. If the waste cannot be recycled, it returns it to the owner. The trash is then steam cleaned, shredded, and sent to a separate storage slot. The Lasso mobile app helps determine if a product's packaging is recyclable by barcode right in the store. The tentative release currently is at 2023, and preliminary cost is about $3,500. The Nobi ceiling light with a fall sensor and artificial intelligence for active monitoring can detect dangerous situations in your home of the elderly and alert relatives or social services. The smart light also has a built-in smoke and air quality sensor and a 4G SIM card just in case the Wi-Fi fails. There was an entirely separate place at the show that was occupied just by smart masks. For example, gaming manufacturer Razer introduced the Project Hazel mask, an N95 certified respirator class mask. The mask is able to filter out about 95% of bacteria. The transparent mask with lighting for darkness allows you to see the emotions of the interlocutor as well as amplify the voice thanks to the built-in microphone and speakers. The X-Rapid Group introduced the Exhale mask, which features inhaled and exhaled air. The mask monitors a person's breathing rate and compares the readings with previous ones using a special app. Canadian software gadget developer Hubble Connected has solved another mask-related problem. Presented at CES, the masked phone not only protects the lower part of the face, but also contains built-in headphones. The American company BioIntelliSense showed a compact health monitoring device called BioButton. It's attached to the body with medical glue, and the gadget continuously measures body temperature, heart and respiratory rate, as well as activity, sleep goals, and analyzes changes that may indicate some early symptoms of a viral infection. Japan's Vanguard Industries Incorporated has introduced the Moflin robotic pet. The fur-covered device can move and make sounds as well as learn and develop through the use of its artificial intelligence technology. The robot's equipped with an accelerometer that has gyroscopes, touch sensors, and a microphone. It recognizes people by the way they interact with it, and it develops its own character over time. The charger for the device is shaped like an egg, and the price of this robot is $400. The educational robot Moxie from the startup Embodied, recently announced by Time Magazine as one of the best inventions of 2020, also made its mark at the show. The companion robot helps children develop and learn through play. It was created with the participation of teachers and experts in child development and is characterized by its increased safety. However, the price of this robot is not exactly modest at a whole $1,700. What robots and tech from CES 2021 did you find most interesting? Let us know in the comments. Subscribe to the Pro Robot channel and don't miss any new episodes. Unusual home robot from Toyota. Barista robot from Orion Star. Avatar robots in Japanese supermarkets. A new video of the most giant robot in the world. The system of creating humanoid robots Mesmer, and other high-tech news in this one video. Toyota Research Institute held a virtual presentation of virtual robotics events, where they showed a home robot hung up at the ceiling. The prototype manipulator is just one of the robots that TRI is working on, with a focus on creating home robot for the elderly. As the Institute CEO Gil Pratt pointed out, Toyota engineers are doing a tremendous amount of work to bring robots out of an era of demonstration and make it accessible to the general public. And preserving the quality and independence of life for Japan's aging population is a top priority for the company. The difficulty is that the homes have completely different layouts and environments, and this is why a robot moving on the ceiling can be a brilliant situation. Plus, this design can make the robot lighter, which solves the problem of power, maneuverability, and gives its centers an unprecedented view for orientation.
We now have intel inside the Westview anomaly.
What are we looking at here? It's a sitcom. Starring two Avengers? Life could be perfect. I don't...
Toyota also recently introduced a soft grip for its home robots, developed at TRI's subsidiary in Cambridge, Massachusetts. These passively flexible air-filled grips make it easy to handle many different types of objects. Inside the air-filled hollow cushions, there are cameras that monitor the pattern from dots on the inside of the soft membrane. When the outer part of the bubble comes into contact with an object, the grip surface deforms, and the camera can track changes in the dot pattern inside to determine the direction and amount of force applied. Orion Star, a robotics company that Cheetah Mobile has invested in, announced the launch of Robotic Coffee Master sales worldwide. You could already see this robot in our release dedicated to the robot exhibition in China. The robot is able to perform complex manipulations when brewing coffee according to the author's recipes. thanks to 3,000 hours of neural network training and 3,000 hours of robot hand testing and machine vision training. The robotic coffee master performs movements with millimeter precision and stability. The robot is equipped with a depth camera and RGB illumination, which provides real-time monitoring of robotic arms as well as beverage status. A constantly switching on indicator shows the robot's operating status. A self-adjuster mechanical clamp with a gripper easily moves objects. Safety functions include the emergency shutdown, collision detection, and electronic safety limits. The modular design, equipped with the Orion Star ARM operating system, allows for customization, personalization, and rapid deployment of the robot. Japan's Family Mart store has introduced Teleexistence's Model T, wheeled robots capable of grabbing, moving, picking up, and placing bottles, cans, and other solid goods on shelves. The 2-meter system is equipped with cameras, a microphone, sensors, and 3-finger grip. Family Mart intends to implement 3 robots by the end of 2020, and by 2022, dozens of such devices will arrive in 20 stores of the company. Moreover, in the future, the developers expect to make Model T fully autonomous, while the robots are controlled by a human using a VR complex. The robot works slower. For one product, it takes an average of 8 seconds compared to 5 seconds required by a person. On the other hand, one person can control several robots in succession in different stores. Interestingly enough, Telex is not planning to sell its robots. The machines will be provided to businesses for rent. There are new details about how the most giant robot in the world will move. The Gundam robot in Yokohama, Japan, which is due to be presented to the public by the end of this year, has a height of 18 meters and 24 degrees of freedom. The robot weighs about 25 tons. Interestingly, GGC Research Open Simulator has developed an open platform for software and hardware using Gundam CG data to create a system that allows young people from around the world to participate in the robot's development. The goal is to contribute to the development of robotics and the future creation of true Gundam.
Why aren't you the landlord? Yes, you. Why aren't you the landlord? Every day you go to and from work and you look up and you see apartment buildings, self-storage facilities, office buildings, shopping centers, and I bet at times what's going through your mind is, what would it be like if I owned that commercial property? What would the cash flow be? How could it speed up my retirement? Or perhaps you're wondering, I wish I could understand how to buy that commercial.
Bear Robotics, a company dealing with robotics and artificial intelligence, and the Japanese conglomerate SoftBank Robotics Group have teamed up to present a new robot named Servi for restaurants and hotels. Servi is capable of delivering foods and drinks independently on its 2 trays. The experts believe that this is how SoftBank demonstrates its frustration with humanoid robots after its unsuccessful attempt to find a wide market for the prepper robot. Origin Spectral Interpretation Research Identification Security Regolith Explorer, or OSIRIS-REx, is an American automatic interplanetary station designed to deliver soil samples from the Bennu asteroid. On October 20, the OSIRIS-REx mission will be the first attempt to collect touch-and-go samples. The spacecraft will not only move to the surface using innovative methods of navigation, but it will also be able to collect the largest samples since the Apollo missions. OSIRIS-REx will go into the near-Earth asteroid bin and bring the soil sample to Earth for study. Engineered Arts has released a video dedicated to its system for creating realistic Mesmer humanoid robots. The system includes hardware such as motors, electronics and connectors, sensors which include cameras, depth sensors, lidars and microphones, and software to control animation, interaction, sound and lighting. The key advantage of Engineered Arts entertainment robots is intuitive operation. An accurate 3D model in the browser simulates the capabilities of a real robot, and user-friendly animation tools allow you to quickly achieve the desired effect without programming skills. Researchers at the University of California, San Diego have developed a new method for 3D printing artificial muscles in wearable devices. The researchers have proven that by controlling the printing temperature of liquid crystal elastomer, they can control the material's rigidity and its ability to compress. Moreover, they can change the stiffness of different parts of the same material by exposing it to heat. As proof of this concept, the researchers printed several samples with the same ink on a 3D printer, whose stiffness and compressibility varies from 0 to 30%. For example, One area of the structure may contract like a muscle, and the other may be flexible like tendons. The Robotic System Lab of Zurich School of Engineering demonstrated the use of the Menzimuck M545 telestepping excavator to clear a slope from the stones after a landslide in central Switzerland. The machine can be operated from a teleoperating platform with visual and motion feedback. The excavator itself is equipped with an active chassis which can adapt to uneven terrain. French startup Exotech Solutions has created the concept of a fully automated 3D warehouse for retail with SkyPod 3D bots that move horizontally and vertically and complete orders. The company has already attracted over $111 million from investors who will spend on international expansion. Exotech said that their automated system allows retailers and online stores to increase warehouse productivity by 4 times and increase their capacity by 5 times. The autonomous SkyPod 3D robots can move at speeds of up to 4 meters per second. The container cell system and bot software are also part of Exotech's development. Interbox presented the research of the MK4 Hexapod, which looks like a cartoon villain. The robot is designed as an accessible platform for teachers and fans of robotics. The Hexapod uses open-source engines from Inverse Kinematics Gate Engines, a wireless command protocol, and the Arbotics controller.
Meet your next pillow. Why do we make our pillow in the shape of a cube? I'll tell you. The problem with pillows is that you're trying to fit a round peg into a square hole, or rather a pillow-shaped peg into a shoulder-shaped hole. This is Sydney. Hello. Look at the space between her head and her shoulder.
Amazon introduced the Amazon One technology, which accepts payments by identifying customers' palm, line, curves, and vein patterns. According to the company, this payment method allows you to maintain confidentiality, ensuring the appropriate level of security. The user needs to create an electronic fingerprint of the palm and tie it to the bank account. Algorithms based on the computer vision and palm pattern reading equipment have been developed at Amazon. To bind a palm to your card, you only need the card details and a phone number. You can remove the fingerprint at any time. The British Emergency Service Great North conducted flight tests of a jet suit for paramedics in Lake District National Park. During the test, Richard Browning, the founder of Gravity Industries and the costume designer, traveled to the injured in just 90 seconds, which would have taken 25 minutes on foot. The location of the test was not chosen by chance, but based on the call data. Although the medical team was very impressed with the results of the experiment, they admitted that they still have concerns about how this technology could work in the actual real-world scenarios. Researchers from the University of Cambridge, together with Beko, taught the robot to make an omelet without human help. This required the use of 2 manipulators, computer vision, probing, and time calculation. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, and comment down below. Let us know. Are you ready to let integrated robots into your home? Transformer Robot, Robot Wolf, new DJI drones, flying cab in the US, and other high-tech news in one issue. Watch till the end and like and subscribe to the channel. The Aquanaut underwater transformer robot emerged from the NASA test pool into the ocean. The Aquanaut is the unmanned underwater vehicle that can transform from a maneuverable submarine designed for long-distance travel to a semi-humanoid robot capable of performing complex manipulation tasks with 2 manipulators. It can check underwater oil and gas infrastructure, operate valves, and use tools. Aquanaut works without tethering and doesn't need support ship, which developers say will save its buyers a lot of money. The all-electric robot can travel more than 200 kilometers underwater and 13 kilometers an hour, as it has a maximum operating depth of 300 meters.
Whether you're remodeling, renovating, or simply replacing a few appliances, upgrade and save in purchasing.
A group of researchers from the research center CAR developed an underwater humanoid robot, DiverBot, for walking and work on the seabed. The humanoid robot has been developed to colonize the seabed and work as farmers with new approaches in the area of food production. This research discusses a prototype design for a hybrid robot that moves like a submarine in one configuration and like a humanoid in another. This hybrid design allows the robot to move effectively on the work surface and execute its functions on that surface with human-like movements. Nature inspired engineers at UNSW Sydney to develop a soft tissue robotic gripper that behaves like an elephant's trunk, grabbing, lifting, and releasing objects without breaking them. Researchers say the versatile technology could be widely used in sectors where fragile objects are handled, such as agriculture, food processing, science, resource exploration, and as a personal assistive device, or even in human rescue operations. RE2 Robotics Incorporated, which has received more than $1 million from the U.S. Army as part of its development of the Autonomous Accident Relief Program, is also looking to rescue victims. The company plans to develop a mobile manipulation robot that will allow combat medics to remotely assess and evacuate wounded soldiers from the battlefield. The HDMS includes robotic arms, intuitive controllers, and advanced software for autonomous operation. The robot itself, with a payload capacity of 136 kilograms, will be mounted on unmanned vehicles. Its software will be able to recognize and track casualties on the battlefield using advanced computer vision, and will also be responsible for the maneuvering. The Ambidex robot being developed by Naver Labs has gained the ability to learn the physical intelligence of people. Physical intelligence refers to the motor abilities that occur naturally in humans, but are difficult to digitize. For example, the person unconsciously understands how to put jam on bread, but it is extremely difficult to program a robot to do this. To overcome this, scientists developed a tactile device with 7 degrees of freedom, replicating the size and capabilities of a human hand, and a two-way remote control that enables force transmission in both directions between the human and the robot. With this device, engineers were able to give the robot material to learn using a variety of methods, such as reinforcement learning. This proved to be so effective that the robot was able to successfully perform the tasks on its own after just one demonstration. DJI introduced the new Mini 2 drone. The ultra-lightweight and compact folding drone provides 4K shooting at 30 frames per second, 10-kilometer video transmission, and a running time of 31 minutes. The Mini 2 can handle wind speeds of 29 to 38 kilometers an hour and soars up to 4,000 meters. The 12-megapixel camera is mounted on a 3-axis motorized stabilizer gimbal. If something didn't work, the DJI application with smart photo optimization technology will automatically improve the picture after downloading. It's also possible to create clips with filters and soundtrack, as well as create a plan of flight in advance. The manufacturer claims that the control of the drone has become more efficient and safer thanks to the smart return home features, as well as automatic takeoff, and accurate stop. The price is 46,000 rubles, or $600. The company also introduced a new agricultural drone, DJI Agras T20, with omnidirectional digital radar, which can detect obstacles in all horizontal directions. The drone is resistant to dust and water and has a real-time camera with a first-person view and 2 spotlights, allowing users to get a full picture even at night. Flyability's Helios 2 helped researchers examine the Unit 5 of Chernobyl nuclear power plant to determine if uranium was still present, as no information had been preserved in the archives. Prior to this mission, Reactor 5 had not been explored since the disaster in April of 1986. Using Helios 2, pilots were able to fly Unit 5 and collect enough visual data to determine that the pools were empty and there's no nuclear waste anywhere inside.
Our world and everything in it, it's all connected. And when you dig deep, you find.
Researchers at TU Delft, together with the Royal Netherlands Navy, have developed a hydrogen-powered drone that can take off and land vertically and can also fly effectively horizontally for hours, like conventional aircrafts. The drone uses hydrogen and batteries as its power source. Boston Dynamics unveiled an updated version of Spot 2.1. The developers identified common problems Spot customers encountered in its first year of use and tried to address them, as well as making it easier for users to connect sensors, collect and store data, as well as integrate data into existing systems. The new features of version 2.1 unlock Spot's full data collection potential and lay the groundwork for new features coming early next year, such as self-charging and remote control. SpaceX's Falcon 9 rocket lifted off from the ISS from the Cape Canaveral Cosmodrome in Florida. This is the first regular manned mission by a private company commissioned by NASA. 9 minutes after launch, the first stage rocket successfully landed on a floating platform in the Atlantic. Another 3 minutes later, Crew Dragon, separated from the second stage of the rocket, entered its orbit and headed for the ISS. The mission of the 4 astronauts delivered to the ISS by Elon Musk will last for 6 months. Walmart has announced a partnership with Cruise to test an autonomous delivery service that will begin in early 2021, starting with Scottsdale, Arizona. Customers will be able to place an order and receive their item via contactless delivery. Initially, Cruise's autonomous vehicles will be tested with an assisted drivers on board, but over time, the company will move to fully autonomous deliveries. In the city of Takikawa, Japan, bears are scared away by robotic wolves. In the past year, 157 citizens have been attacked by bears, but since the installation of monster wolves, there have been no attacks. The robot was created by the mechanical engineering company Ota Seiko. It is covered with artificial fur, its eyes glow, and its head can rotate in different directions. In the near future, the U.S. Army plans to deploy groups of semi-autonomous robot tanks armed with machine guns, missiles, and other weapons. 2 classes of the new RCV line of combat robots are already under development, and a third is in the pipeline. In coming years, the U.S. Army plans to use them from combat operations, both on the battlefield and for radio-electronic blockades. As a result, the ground troops will receive support of light reconnaissance vehicles, heavily armed mini-tanks, and powerful artillery units. So it looks like in just 5 years there will be a flying cab in the United States. Lilium, the world's best-funded electric flying vertical takeoff and landing vehicle startup, is responsible for it. To date, it has raised $391 million in investment. The company apparatus will be able to carry 5 passengers to a distance of up to 300 kilometers. The startup not only develops the apparatus itself, but it's also going to build vertiport systems by integrating it into existing infrastructure of American cities. Although Lilium's flight test program was delayed due to a fire in March that destroyed its first full-scale prototype, the company plans to launch a flying cab service in as early as 2025. The reason SoftBank acquired Aldebaran and Boston Dynamics was leaked online, but it's a joke. Weeks later, we all know that Hyundai Motor acquires majority stake in Boston Dynamics. Subscribe to the channel, like and share this video on all your social media platforms. What kind of robots Boston Dynamics will create after the sale to Hyundai Motor Group? Elon Musk's Starship crashed. Mowgli Robotics' Robot Chef finally entered the market, and other high-tech news.
Small towns, you know, so hard to escape.
Hyundai Motor Group bought an 80% stake in Boston Dynamics from the Japanese conglomerate SoftBank. The amount of the deal varies according to different sources. Some say Boston Dynamics is valued at around $1.1 billion, while others say Hyundai paid $921 million. Either way, it's expected to change the course of robotics development. Hyundai says its investment will help develop service and logistics robots, but over time, it hopes to create more humanoid robots to care for the elderly. Other areas of interest for the company include autonomous driving and smart factories. Hyundai has its own robotics division, Hyundai Robotics, which now focuses mainly on industrial robots as well as the development of unusual concepts such as the Elevate walking car, unveiled at CES 2019. Hyundai executives are confident that the robot will account for 20% of its business in the future and plan to invest nearly $1.5 billion in their development by 2025. It is possible that Hyundai intends to use them in its factories. Perhaps one of these robots will be the handled Boston Dynamics, which, according to company founder Mark Reibert, should become the second commercial robot. The third, by the way, is expected to be commercialized by the Atlas robot. Hyundai became the third owner of Boston Dynamics after Google and SoftBank. What the company plans to do with the world's most famous robot manufacturer, we will know in the near future. Interstellar spacecraft Elon Musk's Starship, or rather its prototype SN8, crashed during a flight test landing on December 10th. The prototype, as planned, was able to take off at 12.5 kilometers, but during a vertical landing, it failed to brake in time and crashed, destroying the landing platform. One of Raptor's 3 engines shut down after about 2 minutes of flight, then a second engine shut down about 3 minutes later, and then a third. Starship went horizontal and began descending. The engines turned back on as it approached the ground to slow the rocket down and bring it to an upright position. However, the landing was hard and ended with an explosion of the prototype. As Musk explained on Twitter, the explosion happened due to low pressure in the fuel tank during the landing, which caused the landing speed to be high. At the same time, he noted that all important data was obtained, acknowledged the test success, and congratulated the entire SpaceX team. The previous started prototype was only equipped with 1 engine and could fly only 150 meters into the air. Several other prototypes have been deliberately destroyed to test the strength of certain engines. The company is now preparing to test SN9 and SN10. Moly Robotics, a British startup with Russian roots, has finally unveiled a commercial version of its robo-cooker. The machine takes food out of the fridge, prepares breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then cleans the kitchen. The cost of the robot is equal to a small yacht or an average house in the UK, and is $330,000. The company expects to lower it with the launch of mass production. The system is ceiling mounted and consists of 2 robotic arms. The latter exactly replicate the anatomy of a human hand, but with the added advantage that the arms rotate 360 degrees. Roborucks are able to work with the usual kitchen equipment. The menu includes 30 unusual dishes from chefs and 5,000 standard options. The kitchen can also keep track of food in the fridge and will be able to work with voice assistants in the future as well. Friends, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It motivates us to create new content, and don't forget to share. Dexai Robotics also introduced a chef robot. The Alfred 2.0 system includes a robot, 2 tooling areas, a bowl feeder arm, and an electronics housing with 2 refrigeration units. The modular robot can retrieve ingredients from the refrigerator or draw from special containers. The biggest advantage of the robot is the ability to change attachments for each type of food. The robot learns from its own mistakes and can take orders from the app. The wear and tear of the equipment is monitored by the software. In the future, Alfred will learn to work with a grill, a fryer, coffee makers, and other standard kitchen appliances. Researchers at the Northwestern University created a centimeter-long robot composed of 90% water and movement by light and magnetic fields. The robot can move underwater through narrow passageways with complex routes. Researchers say that the robot is capable of lifting and carrying cargo and then dropping it at the right point. Deep Robotics demonstrated in a new video how its 4-legged robot Weighing can track objects and dodge obstacles. The robot's controller consists of 8 deep neural networks responsible for certain skills and a separate neural network that integrates all algorithms to perform complex movements. By the way, this robot was featured on the cover of Science Robotics magazine. Startup Monarch Tractor has unveiled a fully electric autonomous tractor using deep learning, which the company says is already being tested on hundreds of farms. All information about the machine's operation comes to the user's smartphone. The tractor collects and analyzes a lot of data and even gives yield predictions. Monarch costs less than the Spot robot at only $50,000. Russia hosted an international online conference on artificial intelligence, the Artificial Intelligence Journey of 2020. Speakers at the conference included heads of state from Russia and Kazakhstan who acknowledged that artificial intelligence technology has moved from the realm of science fiction to a standard prerequisite for the future development of any country. Should this tactical zoom lens be made illegal in the U.S.? This is the first delivery robot Rover by Yandex began delivering food from restaurants in some cities near the center district of Moscow. To get a robo delivery, you have to select on the app, and if there's an order, it will bring it to the door of the customer's building. The customer has to go down to the robot himself, and the robot's container is opened by pressing a button on the app. The Yandex Rover built itself a map of the area using LiDAR and plans its route as it goes, but it cannot navigate curbs and stairs at this point. Russian company Gasgar Group introduced a drone port. The roof of the terminal slides sideways, and underneath it there is a takeoff pad for the drone with a mechanism for securing its supports and an availability sensor. Inside of it, there are two manipulators. One changes the drone's battery, and the other is responsible for the drone off and on switch with just the push of a button. Before the drone takes off, a built-in weather station detects current flight conditions, and there's a climate control inside the drone port. The roof is able to heat itself, allowing it to melt accumulated ice and snow if necessary. And after landing, the drone can send all collected materials with photos, videos, and other data to cloud storage. Subscribe to the channel, guys. It motivates us to make new and interesting content for you. Hey, and while you're here, give us a like if you liked this video. News from Elon Musk, a drone powered by an ion engine, an amphibious robot dog, and other high-tech news. Elon Musk announced the creation of a compact version of the Tesla for the European market. It turns out that the Gigafactory Tesla built near Berlin is not just a production, but also an engineering and design center that will produce the company's new car. Elon Musk said he wants to give the European talent the opportunity not to adapt what has been developed for Americans, but to create something new with a distinct design. SpaceX set a new record for the 7th time by launching and returning the same first stage of Falcon 9 rocket. Interestingly, the previous launch of this stage in August was the 100th anniversary launch for the Falcon 9 rockets. Elon Musk is going to extend the beta testing of the Starlink satellite internet to high-speed trains and planes. SpaceX has already applied to the U.S. Federal Communications Commission with a request to allow the use of Starlink terminals on Gulfstream business-class aircrafts. The company also filed a similar application to test Starlink on ships owned by SpaceX, which are used to land reusable rockets. The range of the Tesla semi-truck will reach 1,000 kilometers, or 621 miles, according to Musk, who spoke about it in a recent interview. Tesla Semi will be equipped with a new battery with an energy density of about 300 watt-hours per kilogram. Two versions of the truck with a payload of 36 tons are ready for mass production with a range of 480 and 800 kilometers, or 300 miles and 497 miles, carrying a price tag of $150,000 and $180,000 respectively. However, over time, the company plans to extend this to 621 miles. The Tesla semi-electric truck has already been seen on U.S. roads. For example, in the summer, prototypes of the truck were hooked up to deliver Tesla Model 3s to customers. Startup Undefined Technologies announced that it was able to create an ion engine using a patented air tantrum technology, capable of lifting a drone that measured 120 centimeters by 60 centimeters height into the air. The company plans to introduce a silent drone with a vertical takeoff and landing ion engine in the near future. The video shows a drone that looks like a pallet actually flying. Previously, ion engines have not been used on Earth because of unprecedented low traction. XTI Aircraft has unveiled the fastest cargo diesel-electric vertical takeoff and landing drone with a range of up to 370 kilometers. The American startup has long been working on the TriFan 600 electric passenger vehicle, but due to technical difficulties and bureaucratic obstacles in certifying such a vehicle, the company temporarily decided to switch to a cargo version to launch the product on the market. XTI also abandoned the all-electric engine in order to increase the drone's range and payload capacity. The cargo version of the TriFan will be able to carry 227 kilograms for a distance of up to 370 kilometers. The speed of this vehicle has not yet been specified. Drones are also being introduced in Britain, although currently they are ground-based. The startup Academy of Robotics has released its cargo robotic drones on the road. The electric drones will deliver medicines along public roads in the Hounslow borough of London. At first, the drones will be used under the watchful eye of operators. The cargo can travel nearly 100 kilometers on a single charge, and its engine will take 3 hours to fully charge. The robo-carrier is controlled by an artificial intelligence system that optimizes the route, manages the location, and dispenses of parcel containers, as well as self-learning and self-training over time to further optimize its performance. Like all robot cars, Cargo is equipped with sensors and software capable of recognizing all kinds of obstacles, from pedestrians to roadwork at a distance of 100 meters. Israeli company Percepto, which developed drones for monitoring and analyzing industrial facilities, has launched an autonomous control and monitoring platform consisting of a bundle of Sparrow drone and Boston Dynamics ground-based four-legged robot Spot. Spot carries Percepto high-resolution imaging and thermal imaging equipment. It can detect various anomalies around a facility, including hotspots on machinery or electrical wires, water and steam leaks, and equipment with degraded performance. The data is transmitted back to the operators. If you caught up with us last week, you know that we already reported about Hyundai's acquisition of Boston Dynamics. But before Boston Dynamics formed a similar partnership with Trimble to expand the use of its robots in the construction industry. The deal gave Trimble exclusive rights to sell and support Spot with built-in scanning, total station, and GNSS technologies for the construction market. In just 5 months, the sale began. Boston Dynamics sold more than 400 robots and generated more than $30 million in revenue. Anybotics, which also markets its four-legged robot Animal, showed an incredible video of an amphibious robot dog calmly coming out of the water and diving back in. Animal can carry weights of 10 kilograms or 22 pounds, and the robot LiDAR and depth cameras for navigation assist in its travels. It maps the space around it in real time and can move on flat and sloping surfaces at speeds of about 1 meter per second. Ghost Robotics, whose robots already patrolled a military base in Florida, is intrigued by reports that its robots aren't just being used there. The company tweeted a photo of its robot against the snowy landscape without specifying the location of the new test. Ghost Robotics also announced the release of its new Vision 60 V5 QUGV robot from the lab, the features of which have not yet been disclosed. ABB unveiled a compact interior paint station designed to minimize space, cost, and environmental impact. The new compact interior paint station combines 12 robots and takes up to 33% less space than standard units. The compact interior paint system is suitable for painting any vehicle that includes 4 robots for opening doors, 2 robots for opening hoods and trunks, and 6 new 7-axis paint robots. The new IRE 5527 with a 3.8 meter wide working area and a choice of floor, wall, or ceiling mounting has an increased working angle and can reach further than any other painting robot. In addition, all station robots are equipped with ABB's Safe Move safety system and are suitable for collaborative work with humans. KFC launches their own unmanned food trucks for Kentucky Fried Chicken in China. The contactless restaurants on wheels sell ready-to-eat food with no one inside the van. The company itself has yet to comment on this news. Pioneer Industrial Systems introduced a robotic unit that can be attached to any road maintenance vehicle. Although the video shows the robot only arranging and assembling cones, the company claims to have developed modules to perform various tasks, things like sealing cracks, applying paint, repairing potholes, collecting data, and more. Skydio has released a video compiling some of the best footage shot on the Skydio 2 drone by the company's customers in 2020. Have you already reviewed the year's results? Subscribe to the channel, like the video, and don't miss any new releases.
I'm Zach. And I'm Jesse. And you're watching Tesla Time News, episode 229 on Now You Know. We are brought to you, as always, by our amazing Patreon patrons. If you want to help support this show, you can head over to patreon.com/nowyouknow, and you'll find some really great perks, including the Investor Club. And we're sponsored by BigBattery.com with the best battery prices in the USA, guaranteed. If you've got something you need to power from homes to cars, RVs to boats, and much more, BigBattery.com has you covered, offering the newest battery tech. Use the code NOWYOUKNOW to save 5% off your purchase today at BigBattery.com. So this episode is sponsored by Omaze.
Omaze has some incredible prizes. Check out this Florida dream house.
Yeah, you could win this home with the resort-style yard with a pool and hot tub, a chef's kitchen, a living room with a 22-foot fireplace and a wine nook, and look at this bathroom.
But what if I don't want to move to Florida?
That's okay. You could also choose the cash prize instead.
What's the cash prize?
$1 million.
Sweet.
And by entering for a chance to win the dream house or the $1 million, you are automatically entered for a chance to win over 3,000 additional prizes, including a Tesla Model 3.
What I really like is that every donation supports Omaze's partner charity, Children's Miracle Network Hospitals.
Children's Miracle Network Hospitals will use funds received from this giveaway to help build out and enhance a state-of-the-art epilepsy monitoring unit at Orlando Health Arnold Palmer Hospital for Children.
Yeah, the epilepsy monitoring unit will be equipped with the most advanced technology available. The new unit will include space for a parent to stay with their child through the process, keeping kids comfortable with caregivers plugged in.
So essentially win either the Florida Dream House or $1 million or 3,000 additional prizes and support Children's Miracle Network Hospitals. Go to home.omaze.com/NYK.
The link is down in the show notes below. And we're brought to you by EcoWear.us. There you can find the shirts that we're wearing, including dozens and dozens of other designs. And you don't have to just get t-shirts. There are sweatshirts, backpacks, pillows, towels, all sorts of different
cell phone
designs.
cases.
Yeah, and you can find all of those things there, and everything that you buy is going to be 100% carbon offset from the manufacturing, the shipping, and the life cycle of everything that you purchase on there. And on top of that, we plant a tree for every order, and we help cap a well for every order. So it is extremely carbon negative. So
What? Tesla saved GM?
Well, no. One of our viewers, Joel, shared us this footage of his Tesla Model Y, which caught these would-be thieves on camera with Sentry Mode. They were trying to steal these two Chevys. Luckily, Sentry Mode flashes the car lights when it gets triggered, and it scared off the would-be thieves.
So Tesla's willing to put itself in the line of harm to save ICE cars, is what you're saying?
Well, no.
Alright, guys. Did a good 2 hours in the after work stream. I'm hungry as shit, so I'm about to go have me some dinner and whatnot. Get with you guys next time. Peace.